Hi, Christie.
Hi, Jeff.
We're recording now.
The many hours of conversation you and I have had,
Yeah.
we've had probably half of them that haven't been recorded.
You know what we should do? We should start a podcast.
You think? Let's call it the why and the buy. How's
All
that?
right.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Why and the Buy podcast. This is Christie Walters, and I am here with my friend and partner, Jeff Bajorek. Jeff, how's it going?
I'm doing great. And what I noticed, Christie, that our listeners at home can't notice right now is that every time you bring us back, you smile, and it shows through your voice. If you're listening, I'm sure you can tell that Christie is smiling. It's a lovely smile. She's got an intoxicating laugh, and she's my partner for now 50 episodes of the Why and the Buy podcast.
Insert champagne popping cork sound now.
Yay! It's who'd have thunk it, I guess. So, I mean, here we are in the fall, nearing the end of 2017. I believe this episode is airing on Thanksgiving, if all goes well and we're spared between now and then. And I'm very grateful for my partner, very thankful for my partner, because without her, this doesn't get done. So thank you, Christie. And
Back at ya.
I'm going to wipe my tears from my eye right now as we welcome our guests today. We've got a great interview for you today. These are two dear friends of mine, Laurel Truax and Jason Mankie. I've known Jason for entirely too long, and then he made the mistake of introducing me to Laurel, because now I bug her constantly as it relates to some of my social media and some of my ideas for blogs and my videos. And hey, does this sound right? And how can you help me? Can you just please, like, what do we do now? And the two have started a firm, a marketing firm called Slabtown Marketing, and I'm gonna let them tell you what that's all about, because until I found out, I was like, what? That's a kind of a strange name, but there's a really cool story behind it. And so I will introduce and welcome with my partner here, Laurel and Jason. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having us. We're grateful to
Thanks,
be here.
Jeff. I would rather focus first, though, on the champagne and where that is and how that all.
I know. You know what? We really blew it. We're going to have to go back and record that intro over again,
Yeah,
I
I think we all need to be toasting as we kind of have that right there, because this is monumental for you guys.
Jason, you and I have toasted on more than one occasion for a long time now, so I think we've probably done
All right,
more than necessary as it relates to that. But Slabtown Marketing, all right, cool name, cool people, cool stuff, cool results, most importantly. But where does that all come from?
So Slabtown, Laurel and I both live in Traverse City, Michigan. For those who don't live in Michigan or know where Traverse City is in Michigan, hold up your left hand. Right about the top of your left pinky finger with your palm facing out is where Traverse City, Michigan is on Lake Michigan. And there's a neighborhood here in Traverse City that is called Slabtown. So it's kind of a little throwback to that. And it's where, in my spare bedroom in Slabtown, where I kind of came up with this idea. That's the office in my house.
Yes, please be careful to mention for everybody listening, including your lovely wife, who have actually no longer than you, that is the office where you came up with that name.
Yes, that.
Interesting. I'm going to break the tension right now.
Edit that part.
Interestingly enough, now, Jason, I find this fascinating. You raise your left hand and put it in front of you and look at the back of your hand. I've always raised my right hand and looked at my palm. So that's really interesting, because you're actually from northern Michigan. I'm from southeastern Michigan. I guess you guys just do it differently up there.
Maybe. We like Lake Michigan on the left of our pinkies. I don't know.
It's still on the left of my pinky.
Yeah,
it's just
you're
the
right.
other pinky. So down in Atlanta, Georgia, Christie, do you use your hands to represent where you are in the state?
Nope.
Oh, okay.
Over yonder.
That's right. You have words like yonder.
Y'all go over yonder. That's what we say.
That's funny. So, okay. So it's a neighborhood in Traverse City. And it's really cool. Last time I was visiting you guys up there, and I got the whole story, and it's a really cool story about, and I love how you've integrated that part of your town with what you're doing. And there's a tremendous amount of small business popping up, especially in northern Michigan. And you guys are a part of that movement, and you're doing really, really great work. How did you decide to get started with this?
So I think we were both inspired by the fact that we were able to make so much change when we worked together at the company that we worked together at before we started Slabtown Marketing. And we saw an opportunity to change the way more businesses thought about how they go to market. And we both got really excited about kind of changing the way we found that a lot of people think about business in a way. They kind of have a scarcity mindset about it. Like they think there's only so much success and only so much business and to be had. And we really don't agree with that mindset. And we've worked really hard to help companies just think about it in a different way. Jason, I'll let you talk a little bit more about kind of what inspired us, but that's what it was for me.
Yeah, I think that scarcity mindset is really what kind of got us going. Is we were in an environment where there was definitely a lot of that, and we were able to kind of move to a different direction, and not only moving to that different direction, but also like getting positive results. Getting somebody to think a different way and think their business a different way is certainly important, and I believe in that. But at the end of the day, the value that you provide to anybody is really about the results that come from that. So kind of showing them, hey, here's some results that align with your business goals, that align with where you want to take your business, that are impactful.
Where do you think?
And that's what. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say, where do you think that scarcity mindset comes from? And I see it a lot too in working with small businesses, but I've even seen large businesses fall victim to it. What drives it, do you think?
That's a great question. I think for some people, I think it's for me, and I guess I can use myself as a good example. It's kind of was my default position first, because it's, hey, let's grab all this that I can, and it's mine, and I've got it, and that's kind of like, I mean, if you kind of trace it back to even I have young kids, I see that with them. And so I guess it's, for me, it was kind of an evolution, because I definitely had that thought process early in my career. And I don't know how I got past that exactly. That's probably a therapy session somewhere that I need to schedule. But it was a kind of a slow transition. And then I you realize that, wow, when you just really put everything out there and let it all happen, what comes back is way better than when you're just holding on tight, trying to keep whatever it is, the client, the dollar, the widget, that I don't know. I really believe in that transition.
And you see it, I see it a lot in companies too, you talk about the squabbling and the infighting between marketing departments and sales departments. And this is the marketing's responsible for this lead. And salespeople saying, there's nobody sitting behind a desk that can do what I do. I'm out there pounding the pavement all the time. I mean, ultimately the two have to work together. And I think that it's a realization that together, everybody achieves more. We're a team. No, I mean, it's like together, you have to approach situations from different standpoints, and you have to understand that. I think in whether you're working in a marketing department or a sales department, for a company, the greater good of the company is served by each department's efforts, and those efforts are best or are most effective, or they're working the best when each department is doing what they need to in order to help the overall team accomplish that goal. Yet, as we've come up and we've talked at length about this before, there's so much infighting and siloing between, well, marketing does this, sales does this, and those guys over across the building in marketing, and those guys over there across the building in sales. Like, none of that infighting is productive. But if we're taking this back to that scarcity mindset, the idea that fighting over who's responsible for that revenue is just ridiculous, and now with everything going digital and everything's inbound marketing, I've seen people, out there on the digital channel saying, what do I need a sales department for? Everything's inbound. What do I need to make a call for? What do I need to prospect for? I can do it all with SEO and inbound marketing and inbound lead generation, and hey man, save all the commission dollars. Yet I don't think that is, maybe that works in some industries, but it's certainly not an all-encompassing kind of blanket process that'll be effective at all. I mean, what's been your experience with kind of that transition from, that we're separate versus, we really need to come together if we're truly going to be effective?
Yeah, I think that for us, what we worked through was a challenging environment where it was very siloed and it was confrontational. I mean, it is probably the most polite way to put it. And it was very much, hey, well, that scarcity mindset of marketing knows how to put things into market, and we know what sales team needs, and so we're just going to create it and give it to you at the end. And the sales team saying exactly that. Well, we're the ones that actually get the pen on the paper and get the dollars in the door. So you guys need to do what we want. And that back and forth is just, it's exhausting. And there's kind of like one moment where in my mind, there was like this project that we just had to get out the door and it had to get done. And it was down to the wire. And of course, marketing had designed the whole thing themselves and then showed it to sales at the end. And the deadline was 2 days away and nobody liked it. Sales team thought it, I mean, it's classic example of nobody communicated. Nobody at the beginning said, hey, these are our defined goals as a sales and marketing team. These are what we're working towards. And then just as important, let's check in on those and make sure that we're adjusting necessarily on those and communicating regularly. And I think that is what I see a lot, is it kind of just that siloing and not, it just comes down to communication. Like, I mean, this is in every facet of life, right? Like, communicate with your friends, your coworkers, your cross departments. Like, they're just making sure that those those communications and checkpoints happen is certainly really crucial to overcoming that, or at least starting on the path.
Well, and I think ego gets in the way too. It's
What?
It's for marketing to say, yep, this is, A to Z, we've got it all taken care of. Here you go. Here's your brochure. Here's your website. And, I've heard salespeople say, okay, yeah, go sell something with that brochure. Good luck, by the way, and for sales to look. And one of the reasons that I called you guys initially a little over a year ago was, okay, look, I'm a great sales guy. I know that. But what are the fundamentals I'm missing from a marketing standpoint that I need to understand that are foundational to me growing a business? Because there's more to growing a sales training business and a consulting business than just selling. And so what does the messaging look like? And what does the marketing look like? And what do those pieces all come together to do? And, we've had a great relationship working together now professionally for well over a year. And I've learned so much about what I didn't know in the past. And I think, I'll pat myself on the back and say that I was able to set my ego aside in order to do that. And it wasn't until I was able to do that, or had the idea to do that, or the realization rather, that anything like that could have happened. And I think professionally, to the four of us on this call right now, it's very, very simple. It's a very, very simple concept. And I don't think we would think twice about it, but there's still an overwhelming majority of the people out there who can't get out of their own way when it comes to accomplishing a greater goal. The teams don't know their whys, to borrow our own tagline. I mean, they don't know their whys in that situation. And that scarcity mindset is a part of it. Ego is another part of it. But ultimately, I think it's understanding what the greater goal is. And so, I mean, when you work with companies, do you approach it from that standpoint? I mean, do you sit down with leadership and say, okay, what the hell are you trying to do here? Or is it more granular than that? I mean, how do you approach it?
Absolutely. So what we start with every project and every client that we work with is kind of that why. What's your mission? Why do you start this business? What are your goals? Things like that. And it's pretty amazing how many people aren't able to answer that or are willing to focus in on what that actually is. So we start at a top level and get very granular. But I think really what it comes down to is, like we were just saying, making sure that the marketing team and the sales team are aligned on those goals and kind of tie their ships together. Because I think kind of the dated mindset is that marketing is kind of the cost center and sales is kind of the revenue generator. And we really approach everything thinking of those two as very much combined, and that they're both a revenue generator, working towards the same goals. So you have to have the same goals and be aligned on those from the beginning.
So when you say that marketing is typically referred to as a cost center, and we want to make it or we want to convert it rather to a revenue center, how, explain that, unpack that for me, please.
Well, I think this is something that's very near and dear to Jason and I's heart, because that was kind of the experience that is part of the inspiration behind why we're working together now, because we've found time after time that many marketing professionals, and maybe even leaders in companies that are hiring these marketing professionals, think of themselves as the marketing team kind of like a short order cook, like reactionary. This is what we need, create this flyer, create this website, and they don't think about the actual core purpose of the business and whether or not you're expending your marketing resources in a way that directly impacts that core target audience and goal. So what we've done and what we found to be really effective is to actually tie marketing team incentives and goals to sales goals. So we specifically make goals around how marketing efforts impact how many leads are coming in, how many meetings our sales team is able to have, and how many of those meetings turn into actual contracts. And we think we've definitely seen that work with lots of different types of businesses, and it just gets people on the same trajectory.
So do you find specific pushbacks from the marketing departments when you suggest the incentives, or what's the temperature like in the room when you're having this conversation? I like asking the challenging questions that are not on the production sheet.
Laurel and I can probably speak to that from different sides of that conversation. As the person that relayed that to a team, that's the way things were going, I can say that the reaction was probably split 50-50, and really nothing in the middle of like, yeah, that's good. Okay, I get it. That's what we want to do. And the other 50-50 would be as cool of a reaction as you can get. Like, are you kidding me? Like, what the heck? Can we swear on here? What the hell is
you
that?
can say hell. It's okay.
Right,
you can say hell. You can say
it won't change us to explicit. There are other words that'll change us to explicit.
That's right.
So like, obviously, I identified with one side of those reactions and not the other. But I think working through that, and once everybody, like, it's one of those things that like you regardless of what is said or how it's conveyed, people are going to have the reaction they're going to have. They need to live it and work in it and see it working. And maybe that's 3 months, maybe that's 6 months, maybe that's a year. I don't, depends on the environment. But as it does work and comes together, and everybody like is working, like the relationships that come out of that are just so powerful, because now it's not, hey, there's that sales guy over there that's asking me for that again. It's, oh, I got to help him out. He's my partner. He's my like it just changes the dynamic. And that doesn't happen overnight, by the way. It's a process, but getting out the other side is really to me, the exciting part of that is seeing those partnerships and relationships.
Do you think it's easier to do that as a third party or as someone within an organization?
I think that and this kind of goes to what Laurel and I believe, as a third party, you need to be a partner just like you're within the organization. You need to understand the organization at that same level.
Yeah.
To really be a partner, because, and I mean the organization and what they do and their why and all those things, but also the people, because at the end of the day, this is people we're working with. And so you need to understand the people and the personality. So I think as an outside party doing this, and now doing it as an outside party, I think if you don't have that, you can't do it.
Yeah.
I think there has to be some kind of catalyst there for one side to see the other side's point of view. And I think it's, being a third party in a lot of situations now, it's the third party is almost a reason for, the kind of, all right, time out, hold on, we got to take a look here. And for the salesperson to go spend some time with marketing and understand what their constraints are and really start to develop a little bit of empathy for what they're up against. Oh, you can't take a sales guy out of the field. You can't. They have work to do. We already don't think they're working very hard. So you can't take them out and give them permission, and at the same time for marketing to come and spend time with sales and say, oh, wow. Okay. So, there's this, it's really an egocentricity to whatever it is that they're doing, and not so much from a personal standpoint, but the salesperson is thinking about what they do as a salesperson, the marketer is thinking about what they do as a marketer, and they don't often switch roles to understand that there are differences in what they do. So I mean, I've told this story before and I won't retell it all here, but one day that I spent with a marketer changed both of our perceptions of what the other did. And I, met this person, and, he had some remarks for me about how great it was for me to have the job I had selling for the company I did. And I said, whoa. Who do you work for? That is what you are saying is not what I experience on a daily basis. Why don't you come spend time with me? Let's develop a relationship together, but let me show you what I'm up against, because I think it'll inform your efforts as a marketer, and our conversation will inform my efforts as a salesperson. And I just like spending time with people that way. But I think we both learned things during that co-travel day that changed the way we did our jobs. And I know it helped me. And I think if we had him on the podcast, he would tell you that it helped him too, because that additional worldview was very, very valuable to how we approached what we did. And it still, for whatever reason, seems counterintuitive for a marketer to spend a day with a salesperson and for a salesperson to spend a day in the marketing department. And I do you see that changing? I hope to see that changing.
I think, yes, it is changing. I think that is changing. And I would take it even a step farther and say that the marketer needs to also put those same efforts into the operations side of the business and understand those client-facing roles, and ultimately a client, like a couple client, like understand like what, like, okay, this is what the sales is up against. This is what operations is up against. This is what the client is saying. Like, somewhere in the middle of those three is probably the truth, right?
Oh yeah, the customer. Oh yeah.
So I think that, thinking of it from the marketer standpoint, I think that is what is essential. Like, if you don't do that, I don't have a clue how you could market anybody. Like, I don't know.
Well, and that's why you formed an agency, and that's why Slabtown Marketing exists. You're evangelizing the common sense approach to sales and marketing. There's your new tagline. I'll send you an invoice.
Excellent. So, we're getting to that time in our episode where we always ask our interviewees, what are you reading right now? Do you have a favorite sales or leadership book? Laurel, why don't we start with you?
Okay. Right now, we're actually reading a book that's pretty apropos to the why and the buy, which is Start with Why.
There you go.
We're reading that, and then, well, I'll pass it off to Jason.
Okay.
So yeah, that's a book that we're currently reading. As far as other books, we've read the book Content Inc. as well. So Laurel and I are, as we're going through this, trying to read a book a month is our plan as we keep going. And those are the first two that we've kind of chopped off the list of books to tackle. And I think they're both, I know that Start with Why has been used on your show many times, and it's obviously great, but I also think that the Content Inc. one really applies because it's it's almost like a textbook that outlines how to kind of tackle this world of getting content into market.
We had talked about this before. I know you're trying to do a book a month. I mean, have you, and there was talk about making it kind of a book club that you were going to involve some clients and things with. I mean, is that still something you're working on? And what is the engagement that you've had with that? Or is it still just an idea in the clouds that you want to kind of put out there? I think it's a tremendous way to engage with clients, and also then to expand the network of those clients too, because as an agency, your clients know that you have more than one client. And so now if everybody's in this book club, whether it's virtual or, you get together on a Zoom call once a month or whatever, to be able to kind of talk about it and have productive conversations out of it, that could be a tremendous way for you to grow your business.
Yeah, I would say it's a little bit more than an idea. We have the privilege of working with some clients that believe in our why and kind of disrupting the scarcity mindset. And we've had some of our clients engage with us and read some of the books with us. And it's just another way to continue that conversation and to continue thinking about things differently and more in a more united, greater good type of way. So we hope to continue doing it, but it's in its infancy right now.
Awesome. So the last question we ask everybody, and we'll make Jason go first this time. What is your why?
Our why is really, I think, what we touched on again, is that we're doing this to disrupt the scarcity mindset in businesses and get them to think of things differently. I mean, quite honestly, it's frustrating to me, and that the scarcity mindset of it really frustrates me when I see companies using that approach and the limitations that it applies.
Yeah, it really is super frustrating. I see the same thing. You get in there and say, why can't you just, like, if you would just put this thing aside, this wall that you built in front of yourself, if you would just put it aside and look around it for the first time and see what else is actually possible. There's a lot more that opens up in front of you that you just, we build these walls sometimes, often without realizing them. And, scarcity is a fallacy. It's all out there if you want it. And more people are starting to see that. And I hope that trend continues. Laurel, what about you? And we've already used disrupting the scarcity mindset a couple of times today. So, there's another tagline for you, by the way. But, what about you? Why an agency? Why an agency? Why not just work for a company?
For me, it's really the ability to work with many different types of businesses and different people and help them kind of reimagine the way they thought about going to market. So what I mean by that is what I was saying earlier, when people don't quite know what to focus on, it's almost like they don't understand what their why is or what their mission is. And what I get inspired by is digging in and almost helping them understand it and helping them focus so that they are using their limited time and resources on things that really drive their business forward.
That's wonderful. It sounds like they really understand their why.
Oh, because when you know your whys, your hows, and your whats get way better. I don't think I was going to miss that opportunity, Christie. So, Laurel,
I was just teeing it up for you, Jeff. Come on.
Laurel, Jason, how can we get a hold of you? How can our listeners get a hold of you? And are you working with new clients right now? Are you accepting? Do you have openings on your roster available, or are you guys, just is your roster full right now?
I would say that we're always open to discussing new partnership opportunities, and slabtownmarketing.com is the best way to find out about those.
Awesome. Check them out. Jason Mankie, Laurel Truax, thank you for being our guest today on The Why and the Buy, and we'll see you soon. Thanks everybody for listening. We'll see you next week.
Bye-bye.
I told you once, I've told you twice. I told myself it doesn't matter.
How about the music on this podcast? We call them our house band. They call themselves Haskins, and they're based out of Plymouth, Michigan. If you want to hear more from them, go to haskinsmusic.com and check them out. Thank you for joining us on this episode of the Why and the Buy podcast. If you liked us, subscribe. We can be found on iTunes, Stitcher Radio, SoundCloud, and really anywhere else you can get a podcast.
You're listening to the Podcast Detroit Network. Visit www.podcastdetroit.com for more information.